Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1. Today we are going to present the content of Chapter 8, which is Securing Information System. Okay, this is our group. The first one is Muhammad Rizqy Abdurrahman Assyifa, Rafly Galih Saputra, Adiyan Pradana, and Muhammad Kevin Alfirdaus.
Okay, the first is talking about system vulnerability and abuse. When systems are vulnerable, when a large amount of the data are stored in electronic form, they are vulnerable to a wider variety of threats than when they exist in manual form. Through a communication network, information systems in different locations are interconnected. The potential for data stolen, misuse, or fraud is not limited to one location, but can occur at any access point on the network. Uh, the system are vulnerable because accessibility of network, hardware problem, software malfunction, use of network or computer outside frame control, loss and theft of portable device. Okay, this is illustrate. There are a few components in here is client communication is and then corporate server and then corporate system. This the connection is communication line and like corporate server to corporate system is connected and then the risk for its element is in client is authorized access or error, and then in the communication line itself, risk is typing, sniffing, message alteration, thief and fraud, and radiation, and then in the corporate server is hacking, malware, thief and fraud, vandalism, then and then denial of service attack, and then in the corporate system is risk is theft of data, copying data, alteration of data, hardware failure, and software failure. Internet vulnerabilities. Internet vulnerability. Large public networks, such as the internet, are more vulnerable than internet network because they are almost open to anyone. As the internet become part of corporate network, information system organizations are even more vulnerable to action from outside parties. In technology, this best telephone services are more vulnerable than diverted voice network if they do not travel over secure private network. Okay, you can imagine on this image is you have the privacy on your business or and regulation, and then image is illustrate about your connectivity because your connect to network is same like you connect to an open world, so it's very if big risk if you are not using network security because your data about your privacy or about your business or regulation it can be stolen by hacker. Wireless security. It is safe to log on to a wireless network in an airport, library, or public location. It depends on how aware you are. Local area network LAN is using the IP address is 802.11 standard can be easily penetrated here the threat by outsider armored with laptop, wireless card, external antenna, and hacking software. Service set identify that identity access point in a Wi-Fi network broadcast multiple times and can be picked up easily by intruding program. Wireless network in many locations do not have a basic protection against hacking. When if a trooper in your location can easily steal your data or your company data. Malicious software. Okay, there are fifth example of malicious software. The first is virus. How virus log is regular software program that attacks itself to other software program or data files in order to be executed. And then the second is worms. How worms work? Independent computer program that copy themselves from one computer to other computer over a network. And then the third is Trojan horse. The Trojan horse is work software program that appear to be being, but then does something other than expected. And then the fourth is spyware. Spyware is small program install themselves to repeatedly on computer to monitor user web so activities and advertising. And then the fifth is SQL injection. Hackers submit data to web form that exploit site in unprotected software and send the SQL query to database. And then the last is keylogger. Keylogger works like record every keystroke on computer to steal serial number, password, launch internet. Spoofing and sniffing. Spoofing is a form of online fraud that is done by posting a certain version of it. Usually, scammer will impersonate an individual or organization that you already know. That's why it's easy for them to earn your trust. As a result, they will easily carry out action such as stealing data, stealing money, or destroying the security system of your device. Then and sniffing let you see all kind of traffic, protected and unprotected, under the right condition and protocol. Attacker can gather information that can be used to further attack or cause other problem for the network of system owner. How bluffing work? Bluffing work is misdiagnosing oneself by using a fake email address or masquerading as someone else, registering web link to access different from intent one, with site masquerading as intent destination. Sniffing. If a stalking program that monitor information traveling over network enable hacker to steal proprietary information such as email, company file, and each other. Denial of service attack. Okay, denial of service attack is a type of attack on a computer or server on the internet blocked by using up the resource owned by the computer until the computer is unable to perform its properly. So that indirectly prevent other users from obtaining access service from the attacked computer. In denial of service attack, the hacker will try to prevent user access to the system or network by using several ways, named as follow. The first is inundated network traffic, but a lot of data show that the network traffic is coming from registered user is unable to enter the network system. This technique is known as traffic flooding. And then the second is flood the network with many requests for a network service that is provided by a host so that the request coming from registered user cannot be served by the service. And then the third is interrupt communication between a host and its registered client in many ways, including by changing system configuration information or even physical damage to component and servers.
Okay, the next is computer crime. It is defined by the US Department of Justice as any violation of criminal law that involve a knowledge of computer technology for the preparation, investigation, or prosecution. Magnitude of the computer crime problem are invaded how many people engage in the practice or the total economic damage. Many companies are reluctant to report computer crimes because the crime may involve employee of the company first. that publicizing its vulnerability will hurt its reputation. The most economically damaging kinds of computer crime are DOS attacks, introducing virus, theft of service, and disruption of computer system. Example of the computer crime. There are two types of computer crime, which is computers as target of crime and computer as instrument of crime. Which these are the example of those each type, which is breaching the confidentiality of protected computer data, accessing a computer system without authority. And as for the instrument of crime, each is theft of trade secret, illegally accessing stored electronic communication, including email and voice, and etc. Next is identity theft. It is a crime in which an imposter obtains key pieces of personal information, such as a social security identification number, driver license number, or a credit card number to impersonate someone else. The information may be used to obtain credit, merchandise, or service in the name of the victim or to provide the thief with false credentials. Identity theft has flourished on the Internet, with credit card files a major target of website hackers. One increasingly popular tactic is a form of spoofing called phishing. Phishing is involved setting up a fake website or sending email messages that look like those of legitimate business to ask user for confidential personal data. The email message instruct recipients to update or confirm records by providing social security number, bank and credit card information, and other confidential data, either by responding to the email message by entering the information at a bogus website or by calling telephone number. eBay, PayPal, Amazon.com, Walmart, and variety of banks are among top of the spoof companies. Evil twins. Evil twins are wireless networks that pretend to offer trustworthy Wi-Fi connection to the internet, such as those in airport lounge, hotels, or coffee shop. The bogus network looks identical to the legitimate public network. Fraudsters try to capture password or credit card number of unwitting users who log onto the network. Farming. Redi- Farming is redirects user to a bogus web page even when the individual types the core web page address into his or her browser. This is possible if farming perpe- perpetrators gain access to the internet address information stored by internet service provider to speed up web browsing, and the ISP companies have flawed software on their server that allow the fraudster to hack in and change those addresses. Click fraud. Click fraud occurs when an individual or computer program fraudulently clicks on an online ad without any intention of learning more about the advertiser or making a purchase. Click fraud has become a serious problem in the internet that feature pay-per-click online advertising. How it works is advertiser typically pays a fee for each click, which is supposed to direct potential buyer to its product. Company hire third parties Company hire third parties to fraudulently click on a competitor ads to weaken them by driving up their marketing costs. Google have attempted to monitor this click fraud problem, but they never publicize their effort to the public. Global threats, cyberterrorism, and cyber warfare. Internet vulnerabilities have also turned individual and even an entire nation state into an easy target for politically motivated hacking to conduct sabotage and espionage, which you can see in the image. This is a real time a picture of what is happening around the world where there are cyber warfare every day. Through the cyber criminal activities, we have described launching malware, denial of service attacks, and phishing pros are borderless. China, the United States, South Korea, Russia, and Taiwan are currently the source of most of the world malware. In general, cyber warfare attacks have become much more widespread, sophisticated, and potentially devastating. Cyber warfare poses a serious threat to the infrastructure of modern society since their major financial, health, government, and industrial institutions rely on the internet for the daily operations. Internal threats. Employee have access to privileged information, and in the presence of sloppy internal security procedure, they are often able to roam throughout an organization system without leaving a trace. Studies have found that social engineering is one of the most used practices where user lack of knowledge is the single greatest cause of network security breaches. Many employees forget their password to access computer system or allow coworkers to use them, which which compromise the system. Malicious intruder seeking system access sometimes trick employee into revealing their password by pretending to be legitimate member of the company in need of information. Software vulnerability. Sometimes software error happen. It is a constant threat to information system causing untold losses in productivity. Growing complexity and size of software programs coupled with demand for timely delivery to market have contributed to an increase in software flaw or vulnerabilities. A major problem with software is the presence of hidden bugs or program code defects. Studies have shown that it is virtually impossible to eliminate all bugs from large program. The main source of bugs is the complexity of decision making. Zero defects cannot be achieved in a larger program. Complete testing simply is not possible. Fully testing program that contain thousands of choices and millions of paths would require thousands of years to correct software flaws. Once they are identified, the software vendor creates small pieces of software called patches to repair the flaw without disturbing the proper operation of the software. Business value of security control. Companies have very valuable information assets to protect. House confi- System often house confidential information about individual taxes, financial assets, medical records, and job performance review. They also contain information on corporate operation, including trade secret, new product development plan, and marketing strategies. These information assets have tremendous value, and the repercussion can be devastating if they are lost, destroyed, or placed in the wrong hands. Business must protect not only their own information assets but also those of customer, employee, and business partner. Failure to do so may open the firm to costly lit- uh, Failure to do so may open the firm to costly litigation for data exposures or theft. Legal and regulatory requirement for electronic records management. Reasons Recently, U.S. government regulations are forcing companies to take security control more seriously by mandating the protection of data from abuse, exposure, and unauthorized access from face new legal obligation for the retention and storage of electronic records as well as privacy protection. If you work in a medical, it is required by the government to comply with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which is HIPAA. HIPAA outlines medical security and privacy rules and procedure for simplifying the administration of healthcare billing and automating the transfer of healthcare data between payers and plans. The second is GLBA, or known as Graham-Leach-Billy Act, which is required if you have a financial organization, which financial institution to ensure the security and confidential to customer data. Data must be stored on a secure medium and special security measures must be enforced to protect such data on storage media and during transmittal. And the third is the Sarbanes-Oxley compliance, which is about which is which is designed to protect investors after financial scandal at Enron, WorldCom, and other public companies. It imposes responsibility on companies and their management to safeguard the accuracy and integrity of financial information that is used internally. The next is electronic evidence and computer forensics. Security control and electronic records management have become essential for responding to legal action. In legal action, a firm is obligated to respond to a discovery request for the access to information that may be used as evidence, and the company is required by law to produce those data. The cost of responding to a discovery request can be tremendous if the company has trouble assembling the required data or the data have been corrupted or destroyed. Courts now impose severe financial and even criminal penalty for improper destruction of electronic document. An effective electronic document retention policy ensures that electronic document, email, and other records are well organized and safe. It also reflects an awareness of how to preserve potential evidence for computer forensics. The following is a problem that companies need to comply for forensics, which is recovering data from computer while preserving evidential integrity, finding significant information in a large volume of electronic data, securely storing and handling recovered electronic data, and presenting the information to court of law. An awareness of computer forensics should be incorporated into firm contingency planning process. The security specialist, information system and staff, and corporate legal counsel should all work together to have plan in place that can be executed if a legal need arises.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rizqy Abdurrahman Assyifa, and I'll explain about establishing a framework for security and control. So, even with the best security tools, your information system won't be reliable and secure unless you know how and where to deploy them. First of all, we need to know about information system control. So, in information system, uh, there are ways to control it. General control governs the design, security, and use of computer programs, and the security of data file in general throughout the organization information technology infrastructure. General control includes software control, physical hardware control, computer operation control, data security control, control over implementation of system process, and administrative control. They include both automated and manual procedures that ensure that only authorized data are completely and accurately processed by the application. Input control check for accuracy and completeness when they enter the system. There are specific input control for inputting authorization data convers- conversion, data editing and error handling, processing control establish that data are complete and accurate during updating. Here is the type of general control and the description. Okay, in software, the description is monitor the use system software and prevent unauthorized access of software program system software and computer programs. And then there is hardware control. It is used to ensure that computer hardware is physically secure and check for equipment malfunction. Organizations that are critically dependent on their computers also must make provisions for backup and continue operation to maintain constant service. And then there is computer operation control, oversee the work of the computer department to ensure the program procedures are constantly and correctly applied to the storage and processing the data. Okay, and then there is data security control. It is used to ensure that valuable business data files on either disk or tape or are not subject to unauthorized access change. And then implementation control is used to audit the system development process at various points to ensure that the process is properly controlled and managed. And then the last one is administrative control. Formalize standards, rules, procedures, and control disciplines to ensure that the organization general and application control are properly executed and enforced. The next is about risk assessment. Risk assessment is assessment to help answer this question cause the question and determine the most cost-effective set of control for protecting asset. A risk assessment determines the level of risk to the firm if a specific activity or process is not properly controlled. Table 8.5 illustrates a sample result of a risk assessment for an online order processing system that processes 30,000 orders per day. The likelihood of its exposure occurring over a 1 year period is expressed as a percentage. The next column shows the highest and lowest possibilities loss that could be expected each time the exposure occurred and an average loss calculated by adding the highest and lowest. The risk assessment show that the probability of a power failure occurring in a 1 year period is 20%. Loss of order transaction while power is down could range from 5,000 to up to 200,000, is $102,500 for its occurrence. Depending on how long processing is halted, the probability of embezzlement occurring over a yearly period is about 5%, with potential loss ranging from 1,000 to 50,000 and averaging at $25,500. For each occurrence, users' error have a 98% chance of occurring over a yearly period, with loss ranging from 200 to $40,000 and averaging is $20,100 for each occurrence. Once the risks have been assessed, system builders will concrete on the control point with the greatest vulnerability and potential for loss. In this case, control should focus on way to minimize the risk of power failure and user error because anticipated annual losses are highest for these areas. And then, after we know about risk assessment, we will learn about security policies. Security policies is one of the main thing that we need to learn in order to establishing a framework security and control. Security policies is a security policy consists of statement ranking information risk, identifying acceptable security goals, and identifying the mechanism for achieving these goals. Management must estimate how much it will cost to achieve this level of acceptable risk. The security policy drives other policies determining acceptable use of the firm information resource and which member of the company have access to its information assets. An acceptable use policies defines acceptable uses of the firm's information resource and computing equipment, including desktop and laptop computer, wireless device, telephones, and the internet. The policies should clarify company policies regarding privacy, user responsibility, and personal use of company equipment and networks. A good AUP defines unacceptable and acceptable action for every users and specific consequences for non-compliance. Okay, this is a table for the security profile. This is an example of security profile. These two examples represent two security profiles or data security patterns that might be found in a personal system. Depending on the security profile, a users will have certain restriction on access to various system location or data in an organization. Figure 8.3 is one of example of how an identify management system might capture the access rules for different level of users in the human resource function. It specifies what portion of human resource that database each user is permitted to access. Based on the information required to perform that person job, the database contains sensitive personal information such as employees, salaries, benefit, and medical histories. The access rules illustrated here are for two sets of users. One set of users consists of all employees who perform clerical functions such as inputting employee data into the system. All individuals with this type of profile can update the system but can neither read nor update sensitive fields such as salary, medical histories, or earning data. Other profile applies to divisional manager who cannot update the system but who can read all employee data field for his or her division, including medical history and salary. And then the next is disaster recovery planning, and business continuity planning. Okay, in here, if you run a business, you need to plan for events such as power outage, flood, earthquake, or terrorist attack that will prevent your information system and your business from operating. For example, Mastercard maintains a duplicate computer center in Kansas City, Missouri, to serve as an emergency backup to its primary computer center in St. Louis rather than build their own backup facilities. Many firms contract with disaster recovery firms such as Comdiso Disaster Recovery Service in Rosemont, Illinois, and SunGrid Availability Service, headquartered in Wayne, Pennsylvania. These disaster recovery firms provide hot-site housing spare computer at locations around the country where subscribing firms can run their critical application is in an emergency. For example, Champion Technology, which supplies chemical used in an oil and gas operation, is able to switch its enterprise system from Houston to a SunGrid hot site in Scottsdale, Arizona in 2 hours. So, business continuity planning focus on how company can restore business operation after this disaster strikes. The business continuity plan identifies critical business process and determine action plan for handling mission critical function if system go down. For example, Deutsche Bank, which provide investment banking and assessment management service in 74 different countries, has a well-developed business continuity plan that it continually updates and refines. Deutsche Bank plan distinguish between process critical for business survival and those critical to crisis support and is coordinated with company disaster recovery planning for its computer center. Okay, then the business manager and information technology specialist need to work together on both type of plan to determine which system and business process are most critical to the company. They must conduct a business impact analysis to identify the firm's most critical system and the impact of a system outage would have on business. Management must determine the maximum amount of time the business can survive with its system down and which parts of business must be restored first. Okay, and then after we know about the disaster recovery planning, and then we know the security policies, and then risk assessment and information system control, there are one of the main concern in this chapter. There are the role of auditing. If you already did four of them but you didn't audit the data from four of them, it is can be said that the data is not valid. So that we need the role of auditing. How does management know that information system security and control are effective? So, to answer this question, organization must conduct comprehensive and systematic audits. The auditors should trace the flow of sample transaction through the system and perform tests using if appropriate automated audit software. Security audit review technologies, procedures, and the documentation, training, and personnel. Through audit will even simulate an attack or disaster to test the response of the technology information system staff and business employees. Okay, here is the example of the role of auditing. This chart is a sample page from a list of control weaknesses that an auditor might find in loan system in local commercial bank. So, technologies and tools for protecting information resource. Why is that important? Business have an array of technologies for protecting their information resource. They include tools for managing user identities, preventing unauthorized access to system and data, ensuring system availability, and ensuring software quality. That is why technologies and tools for protecting information resources is important. Okay, in technologies and tools for protecting information resource, there is identity management and authentication. Identity management software automates the process of keeping track of all these users and their system privilege, assigning each user a unique digital identity for accessing each system. It also includes tools for authentication users, protecting users' identities, and controlling access to system resource. To gain access to a system, a user must be authorized and authenticated. Authentication refers to ability to know that a person is who he or she claims to be. A token is a physical device similar to identification card that is designed to prove the identity of single user. A smart card is a device about the size of a credit card that contains a chip formatted with access permission and other data to enter that data. A reader device interprets the data on the smart card and allows or denies access. Biometric authentication use systems that read and interpret individual human traits such as fingerprint, iris, and voice in order to grant or deny access. Okay, there is firewall, intrusion detection system, and antivirus software. What is firewall? We are protecting against malware and intruder connecting the internet would be very dangerous. Firewall intrusion detection system and antivirus software have become essential business tools. I will explain about firewall. Firewall prevent unauthorized user for accessing private network. A firewall is combination of hardware and software that control the flow of incoming and outgoing network traffic. It is generally placed between the organization private internal network and distributed external network, such as the internet. Although firewall can also be used to protect one part of a company network from the rest of the network, the firewall acts like a gatekeeper who examines each user credential before access is granted to a network. The firewall identifies names, IP address, application, and other characteristics of incoming traffic. It checks this information against the access rules that have been programmed into the system by the network administrator. The firewall prevents unauthorized communication into out of the network. In large organizations, the firewall often resides on a specially designed computer separate from the rest of the network, so no income requires directly access private network resource. There are a number of firewall screening technologies, including static packet filtering, stateful inspection network, address translation, and application proxy filtering. They are frequently used in combination to provide firewall protection. Packet filtering examines selected fields in the header of data packets flowing back and forth between the trusted network and the internet, examining individuals' packets in isolation. This filtering technology can miss many types of attacks. Stateful inspection provide additional security by determining whether the packets are part of an ongoing dialogue between sender and receiver. It sets up state table to track information over multiple packets. Packets are accepted or rejected based on whether they are part of an approved conversation or whether they are attempting to establish legitimate connection. Network address translation (NAT) can provide another layer of protection when static packet filtering and stateful inspection are employed.
First, I want to explain about intrusion detection system. In addition to firewalls, commercial security vendors now provide intrusion detection tools and service to protect against suspicious network traffic and attempts to access files from database. Intrusion detection system feature full-time monitoring tools placed at the most vulnerable point or hotspot of corporate network to detect and deter intruders continually. The system generates an alarm if it finds the suspicious or anomalous event. Antivirus and anticipy wire software. Defense technology plans for both individuals and business must include anti-malware protection for every computer. Antivirus software prevent, detect, and removes malware, including computer virus, computer worms, Trojan horse, spywares, and adware. And then Unified Threat Management System to help business reduce costs and improve manageability. So security vendors have combined into a single appliance various security tools, including firewalls, virtual private network, intrusion detection system, and web content filtering and anti-spam software. This comprehensive security management products are called Unified Threat Management or UTM system. Although initially I'm at small and medium size business, UTM products are available for all size of network. And then securing wireless network. The initially security standard developed or Wi-Fi called Wired Equivalent Privacy or WEP is not very effective because its encryption keys are relatively easy to crack. WEP provides some margin of security, however, is if user remember to enable it, corporation can further improve Wi-Fi security by using it in conjunction with virtual private network or VPN technology when accessing internal corporate data. And then the last is encryption and public key infrastructure. Many business use encryption to protect digital information that they store, physically transfer or send over the internet. Encryption is the process of transforming plain text or data into the cipher text that cannot be read by anyone other than the sender and the intended receiver. Ensuring system availability. As company increasingly rely on digital network for revenue and operation, they need to take additional step to ensure that their system and application are always available. The first is public key encryption. Public key encryption system can be viewed as the series of public and private keys that lock data when they are transmitted and unlock the data when they are received. The sender locates the revision public key in the directory and use the encrypt message. The message is sent the encrypted from over the internet or the private network when the encrypt message arrives. The revision use his or her private key to decrypt the data and read the message. And then the digital certificates. Digital certificates help to establish the identify of the people or electronic asset. They protect online transaction by providing secure encrypt online communication. Then person availability. There is five aspect. The first aspect is online transaction processing. Transaction entered online are immediately processed by the computer multitudinous change to database reporting and request for formatting occur the instant. The second is fault tolerant computer system. Contain the redundant hardware, software, and power supply component that create an environment that provide the continuous uninterrupted service. Fault tolerant computer use special software routines or self-checking logic built into their security to detect hardware failures and automatically switch to backup device. The third is high availability computing. But fault tolerance and high availability computing try to minimize downtime. And then the fourth is downtime. Downtime refers to periods of time in which system is not operational. However, high availability computing helps firms recover quickly from the system crash, whereas fault the tolerant promise continuously availability and elimination to recovery the system allocator. And then recover oriented computing. This work in, includes designing system that recover quickly and implementing capabilities and tools to help the operator pinpoint the source to fault in the multi-component system and easily correct their mistakes. Controlling network traffic. Tip. Yes, nah itu. Yang tadi di-cut yang aku ngomong. Then the controlling network traffic. Tip packet inspection. Have you ever tried to use your campus network and found it was very slow? It might be because your fellow students are using the network to download music or watch YouTube. Bandwidth consuming applications such as file sharing program, internet phone service, and online video are able to clock and slow down the corporate network, degrading performance. For example, Ball State University in the Muncie, Indiana found the network had slowed because the small minority of students were using P2P file sharing program and to download movies and music. And then the security issues for cloud computing and mobile digital platform. Although cloud computing and the emerging mobile digital platform have a potential to deliver powerful benefit, they pose new challenges to system security and reliability. The first is security in the cloud. When the processing takes the place in the cloud, accountability and responsibility for protection of the sensitive data still reside with the company owning that data. That understanding how the cloud computing provider organize the service and manages the data is critical. The second is securing mobile platform. if the mobile device are performing many the function of computer, they need to be the secure, they like desktop and laptops against the malwares, thief, accidental loss, unauthorized access, and hacking attempts. Next, ensuring software quality. In addition to implement the effective security and control, organization can improve system quality and reliability by employing software metric and rigorous software testing. Software metrics are objective assessment of the system in the platform, quantified measurement, ongoing use of metric allows the information system department and user to jointly measure the performance of the system and identify the problem as they occur. Software metrics include the number of transactions that can be processed in the specific unit of the time, online response and time, the number of payroll check print per hour, and the number of known bugs per 100 lines of program code. For the metric to be successful, they must be careful design the formal object and use the consistency. Next. Okay, I think that's all from my group. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.